What? Oh, 55. Wow. Okay, big 5'5", 55. Okay. Welcome. Drink with James, episode 55. I'm here, you're here, Tim's here, and over here we have Mr. Lewis Redmond, a fine bourbon from Greenville, South Carolina, sold from Mallory Shaw of Mallory Shaw Design, also in Greenville. She sent this as a happy birthday to not me, but to Drink with James. It's only produced a few times a year in Greenville, South Carolina. Small batch, really delicious stuff. Half the office is getting drunk off of it right now. I haven't drank all of that. There's a few people in the office now that are drinking behind me. So thank you, influencers. As always, you feel free to send me alcohol. I know I say this a lot, and it appears to be working since I'm drinking something new and different every week. So thank you all. I appreciate it. And give Mallory a shout out. Go to her feed, like some photos. If it becomes advantageous for influencers to send me booze because we send followers their way, that's going to be a good thing for me. If I'm happy, I'm in a better mood when I'm drunk, and so that's good for y'all. I don't know why, but just generally you're watching this show, like you want me happy. So let's all slide over to Mallory's and say hi. Not her house. That would be fucking weird. Don't go to her house, please. Just to her Instagram. What else is going on? I need questions, Look, I can do a lot, and I think I've proven that time and time again. But I can't get drunk and film the show and edit it. I don't do either of those things, and come up with questions. So we need questions. I believe we're scraping the bottom of the well, and Tim tells me that I haven't asked you guys to ask questions. So please ask the questions, email us, comment on the YouTube, comment on Instagram, comment anywhere. Fucking slide into my DMs, I don't care what you do. Just get us questions and we'll get them answered. So let's do that part of the show where we answer questions now. Yeah? Oh, right. Usage rights. Do brands usually, okay. So what do we do for usage rights? We hear this every time we do an event. I feel like usage rights comes up. What should I be doing? What should I be being careful of? I used to be a photographer. I know. I've said it before. But I actually never really cared that much about usage rights, which puts me in the minority. You should pay attention to them and understand what brands want. Any campaign you do, brands are going to have rights to use your photos in social. During the like flighting of the campaign, which is like digital advertising terms for when the campaign is live. So that's completely standard. They don't have to pay for that. It's part of the payment of like working with you, if they're paying you or just gifting, whatever. That's just standard and that's acceptable. Now, you want to watch out for other usage rights that they might have. If they put in there that they want to use it for e-com, their homepage, emails, things like that, it might, that does give you some space to negotiate. I know back when I used to be a photographer, if I was shooting images for the PR team and then like the e-com team wanted to use it for an email, they would usually pay me more, another couple $100 to use that image in an email. So that's something to consider. If they want extended rights that you can negotiate a little bit higher wage. Again, I would say for most people, usage rights for a single photo is probably, no more than $500 for what y'all are doing. I would say, if a brand was trying to buy an image from you, I think like $250 to $350 is like pretty fair. So something to consider. Now, if they want to use it for something even bigger, if they want to use it in advertising, if they want to use it on a fucking billboard, that becomes a bit more of a difficult negotiation and honestly is outside of the scope of my expertise and probably outside of the scope of y'all's expertise. I seriously doubt a brand is going to want to use the Instagram you create for them for a billboard, but read over the contract, check it out. If they want print rights, I would try and reach out to somebody in that world, somebody who works at a commercial real estate, just commercial photography company, like a Getty or something like that, or a photographer friend. If you know anyone that is a commercial photographer, reach out to them. If you don't know anyone that's a commercial photographer, you could probably try and look someone up in your town. So try and figure that out, but I think that's pretty rare. What you're probably going to get the most of is if they want to use it in a newsletter, an email, on their homepage, on their e-com, get them to pay you a couple hundred extra bucks. Done. If a brand offers you experience as part of a campaign, should you remove or reduce rates? How much? Okay, so experience as payment, does it count? Well, depends. Do you want the experience, right? Like, that's one pretty important thing. Like if someone is like, hey James, we've got this really exciting trip to Scranton, Pennsylvania. We're gonna send you to Scranton and we're gonna get you a car service. That's worth $500. Do you wanna do that? We're like, no, I don't. I have no interest in going to Scranton, no offense. So one is the experience something that you wanna do? If it is, I definitely would think that you would be reducing your rates for that. It is like a little trick brands do, is that like they can get more from influencers with experience, but with an experience than just straight payment. But for y'all, you got to think, if a brand wants to send you to Tulum or Bermuda or wherever it might be, not only are you going to hopefully have a really fun trip out of that, but you are going to be able to shoot a lot of really great content. It is part of your job potentially to be traveling and doing all these different things. So, try and find things that fit into what you're doing. If you live in LA and a brand in December wants to send you to Aspen, that's great, because in LA you're not going to get a chance to shoot like a winter style stories as much, but Aspen will give you that chance. So try and certainly those experiences can help expand the kind of content that you're doing, and I do think that most brands offering kind of high-end, top-notch experiences as part of a campaign are expecting to pay less. And I can speak from Fohr Card stance. If there's an experience as part of a campaign, we're not paying you as much as we would without it. And these things can be expensive. I mean, if a brand is flying a coach, but they're putting you up in a nice hotel and dinners and all that, and it's a weekend, that's $1,500 on the low end, $5,000 on the higher end. So think about that when you think about your posts and what you're willing to do and how much it's worth to you. I mean, a lot of the top influencers take trips in like February to the beach so that they can start to get that content, because people in February are starting to be like, I need to get the fuck out of like New York and I want to take a beach vacation. And so that, they are structuring their content around that. So think about that, and then maybe, pitch brands that you can do. So like maybe you should be trying to go to Aspen in November, if you live in LA, to shoot a winter story, because people are going to just be starting to buy sweaters. They're going to be starting to be buying coats. Like, you need to think about that. Or, it could just be you come to New York. It's fucking miserable in New York as well in November and December. But think about trying to find experiences, that help you expand like those stories you're telling. Yeah, we did a campaign, and we were, it was a pretty big paid campaign, and one of the influencers was like, is it okay if I also shoot a couple things for this other brand? And we were like totally fine with it as long as the photos weren't super similar or in very similar locations to what the campaign was doing. So it can be really helpful for you. So I want to talk just generally about business. I'm a businessman. I don't know if you've noticed that. But for a lot of influencers, they maybe have never had an office job. And I think what is under-recognized in this space is that as an influencer, especially a self-managed influencer, you're working with very corporate brands that are generally can be quite large. You think about a L'Oreal or Estee Lauder, any of those kind of beauty brands, huge brands with a lot of red tape and a lot of expectations of what people should be doing in their interactions with them. And what I mean is that little things, like I hear in almost every meeting about how frustrated brand people are that influencers don't answer their email quickly. I honestly don't give a shit how busy you are. You can answer your email within 24 hours if a brand is paying you. If you are getting paid for a collaboration and you're not answering your email in 24 hours, I don't really know what to say to you. In general, a brand reaches out to you, you should be answering within 24 hours. I'm surprised often how fast, how short of a time brands have between when they finally get their budgets approved to reach out to influencers and when the campaign starts. And you really can, we work with influencers all the time, not on the strength of their content, but on the fact that we know that they're going to get back to us, we know that they're going to be professional, and we can get something done. So if we're in a bit of a bind time-wise, we can't fuck around with an influencer that takes 48 hours to answer email. We just don't have the time, and it makes us look really bad, because I guarantee you in that 48 hours, the brand has reached out 4 times asking us, what's going on? Have you heard back from XYZ person? So you're making us look like shit, you're making you look like shit, and honestly, the brand probably won't work with you again. So if I could give you one piece of advice, it is answer your email quickly. I know email gets annoying, I know you all have crazy inboxes, but you can sit down for 45 minutes a day and just bang this stuff out. And a lot of times, if you don't have an answer to a question a brand is asking, or you've got bad news, you need to communicate that as quickly as possible. If your photographer didn't show up for a shoot and your photos are going to be 3 days late, and you know this, and it's 2 days before they're due, you should reach out immediately and say, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I know we're on a tight deadline. I know I said I'll get this done, but here's what happened. Here's how I'm solving it. And I'll send you those photos in 3 days after. I hope that's okay. You need to communicate those things as much as possible. I really can't stress, like if I had one piece of advice for most influencers, it would be just to try and be more professional with the way that they run their businesses. Understand the stakes are really high for a lot of people in this space, and you need to be able to communicate everything that's going on. When brands reach out, if you're not working with them on collaboration yet, again, try and answer those emails within 24 hours and say no to brands that you don't want to work with. Don't just ignore the email forever, because as I said before, you don't know where that person's going to work next. And let's say your dream is to work with, Dior, and you've ignored this person from this one brand 3 times, and then they go get a job as head of social at Dior. You think they're gonna invite you to the show when you email them to reach out and you say, hey, I love you guys so much, I'd love to work with you, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember when you ignored my 3 emails and you never answered me? This stuff happens every single day. People leave their jobs and go to other ones, and honestly, it's just common courtesy. I mean, the person has reached out to you generally because they think what you're doing is really cool, and hopefully they want to give you money to do that. And it's totally understandable that you may not want to work with them, but it takes 10 seconds to just say thank you so much for your interest. At this time, this doesn't make sense for us, but please reach out with any further opportunities. Done. You can literally keep that in a notes section on your computer and just copy and paste it 10 times a day, and you're done. It's very, very easy to do. I can't tell you how much I think it will help you. So Fohr Card all the time, we, especially in difficult campaigns or campaigns that don't have a huge amount of time to get them executed, we tend to choose people that we know are super professional, super responsive, because we can't have any mistakes. We needed it to run completely smoothly, and we need them to say, yeah, if they tell me they're gonna get me images on Monday for approval, that it's not Tuesday afternoon and I'm still trying to find them, and they say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, my photographer got sick, I couldn't get it done, I think I'm gonna get it done later this week. I just can't stress how bad that makes a company like Fohr Card look, because we have to go back to our client and be like, the photographer's sick, and they're like, what? How is that my problem? And it's not, and one of our salespeople, Grace here on the team, always says this great thing of it's not our fault, but it is our problem. And if a brand is working with you, things can go wrong all the time. You missed the UPS, or UPS, the thing didn't come through, or your photographer got sick, or you got sick, or any number of calamities happen. You missed your flight home, so you couldn't shoot when that's fine, but it is still your problem. You still have to get the job done, and there are people that no matter what happens, get the job done every time, and there are people that don't, and more often than not, we work with the people that we know for a fact are gonna get it done. So I can tell you from Four Card's position, if we work with you on a campaign and you are super professional and you're great, that we are much more likely to work with you a second time. If something goes wrong or you're not communicative or you don't answer email, honestly, it doesn't matter how good your content is, we'll probably never work with you again because it's just not worth it unless the brand absolutely insists on working directly with you. So something to consider, and it's just a really easy way to differentiate yourself and to get a leg up on your competition, because in general, if 100 as a score, if 100 is like super professional, amazing to work with, I would say the majority of influencers are at like a 65. So it's a pretty easy way for you to differentiate yourself. Answer your fucking email, be dependable, communicate bad news quickly. That's it. So look, thanks for joining episode 55 of A Drink with James and episode 1 of James Nord Businessman Tips. If you have questions, you should ask them. That's true of life and of this show. So please ask your questions. Feel free to keep sending me whiskey, tequila, not a gin man, wine, sparkling rosé works nicely. What else would I like to drink? I like Pim's Cup, so you could send Pim's. What else do we want, Tim? No rum, please. I don't really vibe on rum necessarily.
What about vodka?
No vodka, really. I don't think I need vodka. Maybe one day this year we'll just get fucking ratchet and drink vodka before the show. So, thank you. Join us next time.